Welcome to Paper Trails, a podcast by Albemarle Paper about restaurants, industry news, and entrepreneurship. Hosted by Nick Kalogeromitros. Each episode features insights from industry leaders, business owners, and experts sharing what it takes to grow and succeed.
What's going on, guys? How are you? Welcome back to the Paper Trails podcast. I'm your host, Nick Kalogeromitros, and I am super pumped to have my new friend, Brandon Cullen, on. He is the co-founder of MADabolic. If you guys have not heard of them, look them up. 40 plus locations.
Right around that, yeah.
Nationwide, all over the country. They're aggressively expanding. I love their concept. We are filming at their South End location here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And we met a couple months ago through a mutual friend, our friend Steven, over at Pizza Baby. And the most random just dinner converse. I mean, it honestly was it's just one of those things where when you, and I'm sure you guys have all experienced this, when you meet kind of a person that's built like you are, from the same fabric, the same cloth, you kind of know it. And so we instantly had a great conversation. Obviously, you're in the fitness health space. Obviously, you guys know that I'm in the hospitality food space. But honestly, we had so much great conversation about business, entrepreneurship, learning, adjusting, pivoting, the whole thing, that I was like, you know what? Brandon, let's get you on the pod. We need to talk. And so thanks for coming on. Appreciate you, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Good to have you on. So let's start at the beginning.
Okay.
Let's start where you're from, because I don't think you're from Charlotte.
No, so I grew up just outside of Toronto, Canada. And I'm kind of bored of my own story at this point, but I chased that Canadian childhood dream to be a hockey player and got close. That's what got me to Charlotte. And when I was in my last year, I was playing on the Checkers, so Go Checkers, and met my co-founder. He knew he was retiring. I was trying to make it back from a pretty bad head injury, and never got cleared to play again. So we spent a lot of time just in the stands in the dressing room that year talking about life after hockey. And fitness was such a big part of our game, because the way we like to describe ourselves as kind of like average players that excelled because of what we did off the ice. So we already had this kind of fitness background. We were even training people in our off seasons, like competitive athletes and professional and collegiate athletes.
You guys were training them?
Yeah, so it was a good way to supplement income. To be honest, I would bartend at night, and I would train athletes in the daytime.
Okay.
And so I wanted, it made sense to give fitness as a career a chance. Wasn't easy by any means, but it made sense.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's talk. Let's pause and talk about hockey for a bit.
Okay.
Because I think there's probably a lot of things that you learned chasing excellence, which is what your motto is in MADabolic, right? That you had to have learned there. I mean, obviously, you didn't go NHL, but you were semi-professional. You were professional in your endeavor. So, and I think there's people listening right now that want to become professionals in their field, whether they're roofers or programmers, or you just want to do better. You want to have a better year this year than last year, and you've got to hone your skill set. So, what are some things, well, first off, I'm assuming you always wanted to become a hockey player? Was it like a childhood dream?
Yeah, I grew up in Canada, right? So they put me on skates pretty early. And the goal was, what's weird, and maybe I'm going off topic here.
No, it's okay.
I never really just identified as like a hockey player. I think I was a very competitive kid that happened to grow up in Canada. And that's, but I think one of the best things about not just having that identity was when it ended, I just had to find something to channel that work ethic back into to see how far I could take something. So when you ask the question about was it the dream, well, once I decided to make it the dream, it's how far can I take this?
Okay, so it was more of, that was the vehicle at the time you were exposed to, that you just competed at the highest level possible.
Yeah, tried to, for sure.
Okay,
yeah.
Here's a good question. I don't know the answer to this, okay? You think that's something that you're born with? Like being a competitor and having that, I don't even know how to put it other than just being a savage at whatever you're doing? Or do you think that's also, did you see that in your parents? Like, do you think that's also, is that a 50-50, 60-40 culture in your environment or something that you're born with? Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's both for sure. I was very lucky to have a great set of parents who supported and pushed me. My mom was always the support structure, and my dad was very demanding, but I was the kid to push.
Yeah.
And the reason I can notice this now is I have two kids, boys 9 and 12, Grayson and Logan, and I can even see how they are built that I can't go as far as my dad did with me. I don't know if he recognized it in me or if it was just his personality to push me.
Yeah.
But he had the right kid to push. So I think there's a component of I was born with enough of that, and he was the person to take that further or help me take it further.
Yeah.
So I do believe some people are born with that thing.
Yeah.
I understand how if you put someone in the right thing that they're passionate about, they can find a work ethic. I think there's some of those cases too.
Yeah.
Like they actually love what they're doing. But I do think there's a portion of the population that they're wired to go.
Yeah.
And yeah, I think I'm one of them.
I love that. I love that. I just literally saw not even an hour ago. I don't know. You're a Boston fan at all with anything or not really?
I mean, I love the city.
Okay. I think Joe Mazzulla is the Celtics coach, and I just saw a clip of Jason Tatum, which I didn't watch the game, but he fell and hurt his wrist in a game yesterday or 2 days ago, and the head coach, is on the sideline and he holds back the trainer and yells to Jason to get up, you're fine. And I was like, it kind of just, I just saw that. It reminded me of just your dad and knowing who to push and how to push. And I'm like, yeah, no wonder this guy's a top elite athlete in the NBA and a champion now. You know what I mean? So anyway, that was an interesting.
Yeah, and it's weird. I honestly don't. I love my parents, and I think he was pushing regardless. I think he lucked out having two kids that go.
We're just drivers. Yeah.
But I do know now as a parent that I'm like, okay, I can't do it exactly the way my parents did it. Plus, the times are different, let's be honest, right? So there's some of that too. And you just have to find that balance of how can I push them?
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So I love that. That was a really good. I love that segue. Okay. So hockey, grinding, born with it. Dad helped with it. Molded you. Anything else that you can look back on? Teenage years. Anything that you can reflect and maybe somebody can take some wisdom or some light on just succeeding at a high level, or anything that you did, or is there anything that say somebody's got kids out there and they want to help their kids. Is there anything that they can learn from what you went through?
I'm still trying to figure that out with our kids, right? No, but one thing that I thought I've come to love, I'm happy to admit to, I was an average player that maybe did a little bit better because of the way he prepared off the ice. But the one thing that I think contributed to my most success as an entrepreneur, or at least it gave me some perspective, when you're not that top player, you're this fringe player, you get cut a lot. You get injured a lot. You sit the bench a lot. And you either have to the next day pick yourself up and keep moving forward, or you don't. So when I got to business, failing was kind of normal. I was pretty used to getting kicked down and trying to figure out how to pick myself back up every day. So I think there is a benefit. A lot of people talk about this just competitive side of sports, or the value of team sports and working towards a cohesive goal. And I think all of that's true. But I think the failures that you receive often in sports is the biggest gift of sports, for sure.
That's a really good point. I never thought about that.
Yeah.
You're right. I mean, I think probably the number of times that you tried out, or you try to be on the starting team, or that you just, man, you really have to build some grit and some tenacity and thick skin that you're like, you know what, okay, this is part of it.
Yeah, and injuries, like coming back from some really challenging injuries. In my body, I've broken everything in it, right? And you still have to know, okay, 4 to 6 weeks, I'll be healed. I'll grind myself back into the lineup. So yeah, there's a lot of adversity that I think is naturally built into sports, and I don't think that's talked enough about. Yeah.
Anything that you learned about yourself mentally going through those injuries? Because I know like that can be a big, just doubt creeping in. Dang, like, you know what I mean? This was kind of, you know, because I even hear professional athletes talk about this.
Yeah.
You know, ACL tears or, you know, what was like, you know, Kobe's and Durant. Achilles. I mean, these are just really, these are year-long, you know, issues. And they talk about mentally doubt that, you know, just people reaching out to help them out. Anything you learned from that mentally, just, you know?
No, but you know, one of the things that, you know, as you get older and you grow, and if you have a lot of people in your life that are supporting you, right, they actually make you like look at some things, right? One of the things my partner and I always talk about, she always says to me, like, you know, how are you able to compartmentalize and just move forward? And this is a blessing and a curse, right? So I think sometimes in relationships, it could be a curse, and sometimes in business, it's a blessing, right? Because she will ask me about, like, how did you get over yesterday? I'm like, well, it's done. I don't have time for yesterday.
Yeah.
I realize the saying, if you don't learn from your mistakes, like all that, I get it.
Yeah.
But there also is, I think the ability to move on from a mistake quickly is important in entrepreneurship, right? It's like one of my business partners says, we're going to make 10 choices. 8 out of 10 are going to be right, and 2 out of 10 are going to be wrong. We're going to keep making choices to move us forward.
I love that.
And I think that's just that compartmentalization, right? And I think you have to be aware of it. In your 5 to 9, meaning back home with your family.
Sure.
But I think in your 9 to 5, being able to compartmentalize helps a lot.
Yeah. I think another thing that I think about, Brandon, is if I don't have control over this, I'm going to try not to stress over this.
Yeah.
Right? Like if I can't, like you said, yesterday was like, I can't do anything about what happened. Mm-hmm. What this happened, this mistake, this employee, my mistake. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah.
Like, what is the solution? And then let's keep moving because we can't do anything about it.
Yep.
Right? And so I think there's like a big component of that where I think people just hold on. It's like, why? You can't do anything.
And on the flip of that too, you know, some of the friends we got to hang out with when I met you for the first time, there's also a component, though, of some of the people you gravitate towards. They fill those missing components that you don't have. Yeah. So, like our good friend James, like a lot of the ways he is able to approach his business, I see things in his management style that I crave and hope to be better at, right? And I'm sure, you know, not to speak for him, but he probably sees certain things in the way we do business that maybe help his business, right? Yep. So got to avoid some level of putting blinders on and not seeing other ways of doing things too. Yeah. But at the end of the day, you know, I'm more comfortable with building a company the way that we think and then hiring to support the way we think versus having to have too many, you know, voices and opinions in it, right? Yep. And that's part of trying to create something great.
Yeah.
And in doing that, you need as cohesive as a team as you can, fighting for that common goal, which if you go back to team sports, you know, the thing that's beautiful about team sports is you have to decide that I'm going to fill this role to make this team better, to win this thing.
Yes.
And I think that's pretty powerful in that.
Yes, you're right. And I love that analogy. I just watched Alex Hormozi interview the founder of ButcherBox. Mm-hmm. It's a $600 million company now.
Wow.
Okay, huge company. And his first business was an atomic failure. And he said, that he was told by venture capitalists to hire, your marketing team is not right, so he fired them, and your COO is not right, so he fired them. And then he said, 18 months later, I fired everybody that had built my previous company to where it was. And then everybody thought it should be done their own way, and it failed.
Yeah.
Instead of just what he thought was the vision for the company since he was the founder. And then he used that to his next company, ButcherBox. Now, just exactly what you just said right there. Hire, so incredible analogy. So back to what you said about James and the people that you're around. Talk for a second about your association, your team, who you surround yourself with. I think, and you could probably attest to this, you're a father. There is a natural protection on who your kids hang around. But it's a weird thing, Brandon. I feel like once you turn 18, 20, 22, 25, whatever the age is, I feel like you think maybe that's not as important because I'm an adult. And it's like, no, dude. No, people will influence you. I don't care what you say. They will help you be sharper. They will help you be more lazy. I don't care. Habits and things will a little bit influence you from others.
Yeah. And
I think you have found, even off camera, we talked about just the group, your best friends. Mm-hmm. They're drivers, they're goal setters, they want to accomplish. Talk a little bit about that, man. I mean, who are you hanging around? How important is it in your opinion?
Yeah, so it's funny, and I think many business owners would probably say a similar thing where we have a lot of acquaintances. There's a lot of people you have to be kind to and let them know they're seen and all these good things, whether it's clients, whether it's vendors, whether it's even primary team members, right? But I would say my circle of influence is very small. And when I say influence, the people that I want to influence me.
100%.
So not, outward influence, like...
Yeah.
The people I choose to spend my days off with push me, call me on my shit, make me a better person, have qualities that I lack. So, yeah, it's a very small group, but I've been super fortunate enough to I have I've had a few outsiders tell me that, Brandon, you're really lucky, the people you have in your life, and I'd agree, for sure.
You think it's luck, though? Or you think it's just who you choose to influence you? Or who you...
Well, they also chose me. So I don't know.
Well,
so who knows? Yeah, maybe it's a little bit of luck. Maybe it's, one of the things I do believe everybody should think about is work your ass off to get in the rooms that you want to be in.
Yes.
And then... hopefully within those rooms you can meet some great people to help, influence you and maybe your career trajectory and your personal life too.
I love that. Mm-hmm. I love that. Okay. All right. That was a good foundation. I love that. That was a good setup. All right. So you're at the Checkers, you're in Charlotte, right? Injury, you want to come back, not sure if they're going to allow it. Your teammate, you guys are training on, off season. You're hustling, bartending, you're doing whatever you can to make money and just, continue to just live your life and progress. How does the brand, talk a little bit about MADabolic, the brand, what was the inspiration? Did you guys have explain a little bit about kind of like the birth of what you guys have built and, when did it start? When did it come up? The whole thing.
Yeah. So we were playing around with a few different ideas and concepts within the fitness space. But the one thing that we noticed, and it's funny because the gap still exists today. It's the gap and the white space we're still fighting for in the industry. But the best way I can sum it up is think of the 25 to 45-year-old that is past their sport. They're past competing. They're just everyday people now, grinding through life, but they still want enough of that feel of strength and conditioning. So we do very well with ex-athletes, but we also do very well with just type A, kind of like business people that are wired for routine. And what we found, and this is not in like a punching down nature, but in the boutique fitness industry, you had two or actually in the fitness industry, you had these two huge extremes. You had like sports specific training. Like I want to make the NHL.
Yeah.
Or I want to peak for the combine.
Yeah.
And then you had like your general YMCA, Gold's Gym boot camps.
Sure.
And there was nothing in the middle of like high level training for 25 to 45-year-old go-getters.
Okay.
So we're like, well, let's build it, because that's who we were. Like we were no longer playing hockey. I think I was 27, 28. Kirk was in his early 30s, and we wanted something we could do into our 50s. And we came from weightlifting, strength and conditioning, sprint training, right? Now, I don't want to do that anymore, but I want to be somewhere close to that and feel capable and feel confident and feel powerful. So we kind of set out to build that. Now, here's the craziest thing today. You have sports-specific training, and you have YMCA-level boot camps that now are beautifully packaged with a different set of Pantones, and they're in standalone buildings. So the same quality you would have received 15 years ago in the YMCA, they're not who we compete with. I know how harsh that sounds, but here's the good thing is like there's a lot of ways to stay moving.
Sure.
All I'm saying is there's a lot of that. But who's saying if you're looking for the most out of you value strength, structure, accountability? I think we're pretty good at that thing that is not as popular as the other thing.
Okay, I love that. All right, so you guys had that conversation.
Yep.
What's the first step? What are you like? Because this is the first business you guys have done. Or no?
We were in the gym business prior to it.
Okay.
So we were involved in the CrossFit world before the world knew what CrossFit was.
Okay, I didn't know
So
that.
it was like ex-military, ex-athletes, like a pretty badass time in fitness. And then we got to see it kind of hit pop culture. Like, I don't know if this is something we want to do with everyday people.
Okay.
Maybe there's something in the middle. So we were kind of playing around with stuff late 2000s. In 2011, we're like, let's give this thing a go.
Okay.
And what's funny is where you're sitting right now, this little space was our first gym. We had a first right of refusal on the space next door.
Okay.
And when in 6 months in, we're like, okay, I think we're on to something.
Yeah.
Where it got weird, we were getting such a strong name and reputation in Charlotte. We actually had someone from like the YMCA say, would you ever consider putting this in our locations?
Yeah.
We had local smaller gyms say, can we do what you do in our spot? We're like, well, it's kind of weird, right? We're going to put our stuff in a competitor's gym. No, that doesn't make sense. And then one early franchise relationship, they're like, well, would you ever do this in another city? We're like, okay, what's that look like? We don't really know you. Or are we going to become partners? And someone, I don't know who they said, have you ever considered franchising? So we hired a firm that kind of built out our first FTD, taught us the franchising process. And within a year, we started kind of franchising the model.
Within a year of South End?
Yeah.
Of this? Okay.
Yeah.
So let's take a second here. And 6 months, you're crushing it here, right? You know something like, okay.
So we know something's good.
Something's good. What we're doing, the branding, the training, you're onto something. People are catching on. They're seeing, okay, so a year within this opening, did you guys even think, I mean, obviously you didn't think about franchising until that conversation even came up.
Yep.
Okay. So you hired a company, all right, and they kind of built out this thing.
Yeah, so you build out a system, right? There's certain legal documents that you have to understand to be able to deliver. Very complex, right? They're called your franchise disclosure documents. And that could be like a 200-page, like meaty contract, right? That eventually gets you to your franchise agreements, right? You have to understand that as a franchise system, like what are you providing? What are you required to provide? What are things that you can force versus things that you can suggest, all those things. So like, not only did they, they were a consulting firm, did they have the legal team to build out the agreements, they also taught us what each section was making. Now, fast forward a few years, we've rewritten our FTD many times, but it got us started.
Yeah.
But me and my partner, we were running the entire thing ourselves for 7 years.
Just
two guys.
2 people, 7 years.
And we had, at that point, 3 corporate stores. Actually, 4. We had 2 in Charlotte, 1 in Greenville, South Carolina, and we opened one with my younger sister in Canada to test that market.
Yeah.
And we also had, I think, 6 franchises. So we had about, call it 10 to 11 units in the first 7 years, but we weren't advertising. We were doing nothing other than when someone would come to us, we'd be like, all right, do we like the person? Let's take a look at the market. And that's how we chose to do it.
Okay.
So when we're sitting there, call it 10, 11 locations in 2019, we met our now partners, Z Growth Partners, and they came in, and I'll kind of dumb down their pitch, but it was like, listen, we're impressed what 2 guys have done. We're very good at this scale thing. Why don't we talk about a partnership where we can have you focus on more what you guys are great at, and we'll bring our 30 years of expertise in franchising and scale, and let's look at this together. And that was, funny enough, that was late 2019, right before COVID.
Okay.
So like, we walked into our partnership right in the middle of COVID, pretty much, or at the start of it. And we weren't even at the start aggressively trying to sell anything, but like, leads kept coming, right? So we started taking them. And, 2025 now, we are at about somewhere right around 40. We're opening Fort Lauderdale next week. We opened Philly 2 weeks ago, Bend, Oregon, in about 4 weeks from now. So we're kind of hitting that stride like right now.
Yeah.
But also too, we're now seeing a new level of scale and what kind of problems those bring. So like, this is such an interesting business where, and smarter people have told me this, what got you to 10 won't get you to 25.
Yeah.
What gets you to 50 to 100 is a whole different animal.
Yeah.
So internally, as partners, we're always trying to build for what we are trying to accomplish.
Yeah.
So our goal, I think, this year, I shouldn't say our goal, the contracts we hope to fulfill this year, I think we'll probably open another 6 to 8 units this year. So we'll be very close to that magical 50 number soon. And then we're going to have some conversations about, how do we get to 100?
Okay, so did your partners come to you guys in 2019, or did you see, okay, this is the max Kirk and I can do,
They came to us, but we were already talking about what you're talking about there. Like, we were like, listen, like,
we can't do much more than what we're
it's
doing.
like, we could maybe get to 20 here in the next 10 years, but like, we were at our bandwidth.
Yeah.
So the good thing is like, all of our locations were relatively happy and profitable, which in a young system it's not normal. Okay. So that made it a little bit attractive for our new partners coming in. But we knew we weren't going to do what we're trying to do now, the 2 of us.
Yeah.
And we also were humble enough to know, we probably don't even know the team, how to build a team to do that.
Yeah.
So we're probably better taking on a partnership, taking on capital, and taking on operational experience to try to do this and swing for the fences.
I mean, and that's, I think, a good reflection to anybody listening that wants to scale a business, that is a business owner. Knowing where your strengths are, knowing where you're at in the life of the company, right? Like, you just knew, like, dang, like, we could probably push this to, 13, 15, maybe 20, but that at some point, we just, we need to grow in another area. So let's just bring on somebody to help us with that. Okay. Anything that you learned in those first 7 years, just y'all two, building up to 10 or 11? Is there anything about wearing multiple hats, or not spending too much or running the business conservatively, or don't be afraid to take a little risk? Is there anything that you learn about, I don't know, anything about personnel, starting a business, new look? Is there anything like that if somebody's looking to, they're in their first 7 years, 5 years, 10 years of a business?
Yeah. It's not a popular thing to say, but when we did that corporate unit with my sister in Canada. So when we launched her and we were kind of saying goodbye, me and Kirk, we were there for 2 weeks helping her launch. And like, as I think we were like hugging at the airport, she was like, is there any last piece of advice? And I looked her dead in the eye. I'm like, yeah, you're not going to like this. I'm like, but be prepared to be disappointed often. And she's like, what do you mean? Because my sister's a pretty unique human being. And like, she sees the best in everybody. Yeah. So I was like, be prepared to be disappointed, because a lot of people will fail you. And the loyalty that you believe is there is not always there. And at the end of the day, this will come back to you. Yeah. Only. Like, we'll be here to help you, but you got to make this happen type thing. So I don't know. It's not sure. all rainbows and stuff, but that's what we told her. Yeah.
I mean, that's the truth. Yeah. Right?
Yep.
I mean, it's, I think there's I don't know, maybe even responsibility that you had to her to tell her, like, hey, like, this is going to be hard. Yep. This is not going to be easy. Like, you're not, you want her to not be a naive, just, you know what I mean? Hey, no one's going to screw you over and things are going to, no, dude, like, this is going to hurt a little bit. So.
You do another thing too. And again, it's not exactly a popular take. And I think it's even more available today. If you're a worker, you can make some noise right now.
Yes.
Like, the world's like, you can conquer. Like, it's ripe to go get things. So like, if you want to put your head down and go to work, it's a good time to do that. Yeah. It's not hard to stand out today, I find. Yeah.
Why do you think that is? Like, unpack that a little more.
I just think, there is a lot of, it's been a wild 8 years. Yeah. A lot has changed. We went through a major pandemic. That also had people like evaluate the type of life they want to live. And it's introduced a lot of things that I think are okay and good, whether it be the 4-day work week to being able to shut off when you go home to be with your family or unplug. Yeah. Like, I think a lot of these concepts are really good. Yeah. The one that I think we are overplaying is the concept of you being a very young first job and you're walking in the door expecting balance. And I'm a big believer, like, you need some years to earn that balance.
Amen.
And if you could just put your head down, because like I am hiring, you're hiring.
Yeah. We always are.
Right? Yeah. So like, what I'm saying is, it's not going to be hard to impress me today.
Yeah.
Like, you can make some noise, because who you're competing against, I'm not seeing as much of that tenacious work ethic to get things done. So my advice would be, if you're entering the workforce, go take over, because you can do it today.
That's what Dana White says. I've seen him on multiple interviews talk about like his recommendation to young people or even his kids. Okay. He says that it's not hard to be a savage in today's world. Just
very data,
right?
Very data.
Yes. Like, and I'm like, you know what? I mean, he's right. You can, if you are somewhat of a savage, you can make a name for yourself. You can climb the ranks. You can, if you just take on more responsibility and over communicate, and
it's little things too. Like, and I would dumb it down to even like a lot more simpler things, like show up early. Yeah. Dress the part. Yeah. You fulfill on your promises. Yep. Like, it's those really little things, right?
Sure.
Yeah, I know it's probably unpopular to say, but I do believe if you are someone that's looking to make a name for yourself, yes, it's a great time to go do that.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. Okay. All right. So you and Kirk, 7 years, 2 of you guys, 10 locations. You're just I mean, and I literally want you, Brandon, to put yourself back there, because I think that's where you guys laid the foundation, where a lot of people kind of like, a lot of people see you now and have like maybe envy or just like, dang, like it must be nice. Like, just, I'm like, yeah, but you don't even know what the guy did the first 10 years. Like that was probably so hard. So, if you are enjoying the fruits of your labor, it's because of those early years. And so 2019 partner, what are some things that you learned now post, bringing on the partner to scale? What are some things that you learned about the industry, scaling, multi-state? I don't know. Is there anything that you're kind of seeing now with a different vantage point? I mean, you're kind of a little higher on the mountain now. Anything that comes to mind that maybe, if somebody wants to open a second restaurant or a fifth restaurant or has a food truck and wants an actual brick and mortar location as their second, is there anything that they can glean for that you're learning now?
Pretty specific. I would say identifying the level of scale you want to get to and then kind of pulse checking that with what you offer.
Okay.
And the best way I could say it is, do we have a lot of Charlotte listeners on your podcast?
Yeah.
Okay. So let's talk about our good buddy, James Yoder, and his wife, Miracle, that own Not Just Coffee.
Yep.
And their side project is Night Swim Coffee. So great buddies, unbelievable at what they do, right? And I like to take it away from fitness to try to kind of, coffee just seems like people can understand coffee, right?
Okay.
So we have people that are okay with having their Nespresso at home, right? You have people that Dunkin' Donuts is good enough. And somewhere in between that, you're a Starbucks drinker. And then you have James and his team that just deliver, in my opinion, arguably the best coffee on this earth.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
James would have to really consider how many brick and mortars, if he wanted to scale Not Just Coffee outside of Charlotte, I think he would have to be cautious like we are with MADabolic, because he is serving something that is not for your Nespresso drinker, not for your Dunkin' Donuts drinker. Everything he does is excellent, right? And that has a ceiling that I think is it comes quicker than you hope sometimes. I even think like we have a ceiling that might be shorter, it might be shorter than we anticipate, right? So like in our world, the one of our competitors, say like Orange Theory, they've been managed to get to say 1,000 locations. That we can't do that. That they are a much more inclusive offering for a wider consumer, and it works in any pretty much any market in the United States.
Okay.
Right? We do very well with 25 to 45-year-old high-performing individuals, which is a very small subset of the fitness industry.
Gotcha.
Right? So I think, like, to go back to your original question, like, you have to have an honest look at what you are offering.
That's really good.
And then you have to kind of guesstimate what that ceiling could be, and that can really design the way you're going to go, because, and I know people are going to be mad at this statement, but I find that the best or top performing franchises in the world, not fitness, just
In the world, yeah.
the world, you're going to find that they do average extremely well. Not excellent. Consistently great at average. That's massive scale. If you're offering something that's a higher price point that hits a little bit more of a specific consumer,
Yeah.
you got to be careful on how big you think you can take that.
I mean, that makes sense, though. What you're saying makes sense. I'm like, to be the absolute best and to scale that is really, it's really hard. And I think that's a very good way to think about, like you said, the ceiling of what you're offering, right? Like, what do you think we can truly get at? How much of the demographic, whether you're in clothing or roofing, or doesn't matter what, gutters, I don't care what it is.
Yeah.
And what can we truly get to in this, so interesting.
The other thing I would say too is, like, what lights you up? Like, to me, I don't need 1,000 locations to be happy, even though that could be driven by more revenue.
Yeah.
I mean, there's only one way to say this. Like, I have too much of an ego to want to be recognized for something amazing. So, like, I'd take less money to be known as the best in the industry. That's what drives me. That's what gets me excited.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But guess what? If money drives you, awesome. Go do that too. That's completely fine. But the components of knowing your drivers, what makes you tick,
Yeah.
you know, what you're offering, and then the level of scale, that kind of triangle of how they all come together.
Yeah.
Probably pretty smart way to look at it.
I just I don't know if I read it or I saw it somewhere, but somebody said that the most profitable and least amount of stress and energy, you know, that somebody can have in a business, the revenue at that is around $3 to $4 million, because that's big enough that like you can bring home a really, really good income.
Interesting.
But you could do that with you don't need 100 employees to do that. You know, you could do that with 10 or 5 or 20. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, okay, interesting concept. You know, with that size business, if revenue is the driver and you do want to make a good, you know, I was like, okay, interesting. But I like that. I like that perspective, you know, and I think it's really back, you know, it really goes back to what do you want? Mm-hmm. What do you want? And this vehicle that you chose to make money, what can it deliver? And then work backwards. You know, begin with the end in mind and then work backwards.
Yep.
And maybe you're happy with 10 locations. That's fine.
Yeah.
That I mean, who are we to impose, you know, whatever, you know, and you know what? Okay, I like that. Any last thoughts on MADabolic, where you guys are going, what you're doing, what you're excited about, anything that, you know, we want to talk about before we kind of wrap up with, you know, maybe some takeaways for people to.
No, it's a really interesting time in health and wellness.
Okay.
So there are some massive shifts happening.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
So like, I mean, you have technology and AI coming in that are, it's weird. You have a hospitality driven business, which I've told you, I think we are.
Yeah.
Like I really do, especially like a boutique fitness. You know what I mean? Like people are coming there to be with their tribe.
Yep.
To get their workout, to be around their people. It's their third place, right? But now, like, all the trends are around bringing in AI and bringing in technology to do a very human business. Couple that with, like, longevity and wellness is kind of taken center stage over fitness, right? So everybody's, when you think of things like saunas, cold tubs, IV clinics,
red light therapy,
the
whole thing.
So a lot of the money, the big money that used to invest in boutique has shifted to wellness.
Okay.
So like we have to evaluate all these things. Like my argument for wellness is, you know, think of a standalone, like red light therapy or sauna or even like a stretching place.
Yeah.
What happens when the YMCA offers those as part of your membership, which is going to happen? You know, you're going to notice like every locker room in America will have a cold tub in it very soon.
Yeah.
Well, what happens to that business? So you have to kind of like be patient to see like where the money's flowing.
Okay.
Right? Because here's the thing. It's not like we invented squatting. We just packaged it differently.
Yeah.
So it's not going anywhere. But like the way that money's flowing right now is not towards fitness. It's towards a lot of this longevity. The other thing that we're struggling to figure out as a country, they just made an announcement that for the first time ever, 25%, so 1 in 4 people in the United States belong to a gym. And that's a milestone. So 1 in 4 do. Here's the weirdest thing. Visits are up. They call it the wellness wallet. So how much people are spending on themselves per month on things is up. Okay. Everything's as high as it's ever been, right? Membership is flat. So all it is the same people are paying for more of the thing they like. So we're not creating any new categories.
Okay.
So like it's so funny when even friends and family might know what I do or have a belief of what we do. Like these are the conversations you have. It's not always about someone's squat depth. It's like, you know, what is the strategic play to grow here? Do we have to be more targeted? Do we have to get more broad based on money right now?
Yeah.
And then things are cyclical. Like, remember 5 years ago, cycling was hot again. Now it's down.
Yeah.
Bodybuilding's back. I would have never thought bodybuilding would have came back. And we're talking like Arnold Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
It's back.
Yeah. Okay.
And it's very young males are back into it, and females are strength training. So it's not as simple. We haven't earned the right to slap a MADabolic sign up on a billboard and people come running. If you put an Orange Theory anywhere in America today, people know what to expect. We're fighting for that relevance. We're trying to earn the right to get there, but we do still need to be patient to get there. And like any business owner, we make mistakes.
Sure.
We sometimes award units to the wrong franchisee. We sometimes pick the wrong market.
Yeah.
So like, we're not immune to making
Welcome to the club.
bad choices once in a while. It just happens, right?
I know. Welcome to the club. Any suggestions or thoughts on somebody out there that wants to become a little healthier? Anything that you suggest or that you see personally that, I don't know, is there anything that,
Yeah. And take this to heart, because I sell a very specific product, but if it's not the thing that gets you out of bed 5 days a week, that you just got to find something that makes you happy enough to do it 5 days a week. And if that's Pilates, if that's walking, yoga, running, whatever it is.
Yeah.
The best program is the one that gets you moving consistently 5 days a week. So you just got to find the thing that makes you tick enough to eventually fall in love with the results, because results take a long time, right?
Yeah.
They don't happen overnight. So, someone who has never been exposed to, let's say, strength and conditioning, and let's just create this fictitious person that they've never really been into wellness. They're 40 years old, and maybe they're looking at themselves in the mirror, coming out of the shower, and they're like, Jesus Christ, I gotta do something, right? Start the workout habit by walking 30 minutes a day. 5 days a week. Just get into the habit of working out.
Yeah.
And then everything can kind of stem from there.
I heard this analogy of this trainer that was getting somebody that never had been in sports or anything their entire life to start just getting his habits right. And the only thing that the trainer wanted this person to do was just at the beginning, just walk into the gym. Just walk at the gym.
Just get there.
3 days a week. That's it. I don't care if you do anything, but here's what happens. He said that the moment he would get in and he was there, he just felt like doing something.
Yeah.
So he did something. And then that habit just became part of his permanent lifestyle, where he went to the gym 3, 4, 5 days. And then that built his wellness journey. And I'm like, wow, look at the power of habits.
Yeah.
And just how important it is to just, like you said, start moving, just whatever that is.
Yeah, and the other hard thing, it's very unfortunate, because the uneducated consumer, and when I say that, I don't mean a dumb person. I just mean they didn't come from an exercise science background.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
There's so much fluff and kind of misinformation on these crazy ideas on, say, Instagram or any social media. The basics still work. Like, walking still works.
Push-ups, sit-ups,
Mix in some water at a salad and start there. You know what I mean?
Well, I mean, that's a good point. I mean, a lot of people say, just diet first.
Yeah.
What are you ingesting and putting into your...
I believe movement first.
Movement first, okay.
I do, because the one thing that, and I'll have people yell at me for this exact statement, but I've yet to see a diet create a workout habit, but I've seen a workout habit see people take food more serious.
That's valid.
Yeah.
That is valid.
Yeah. And that's just my experience.
No, listen.
Don't shoot me.
No. Listen. Hey, listen. That's your experience.
Yeah.
That's your perspective. That's a good point. I think when you go to the gym and you feel you just did a 30, 45-minute hour workout, and you want to back up that decision that you just made with another good decision.
Yep.
So you're not going to go get a Big Mac right after that.
And the other thing too, it puts, like you said about getting in the right rooms, and you said our circle of friends, you're now in a space that's designed to breed a healthier experience, right? So you'll be exposed to people that could become friends or could influence you, whether it's, I don't know, say you see someone taking a shake after every time their workout. Maybe you're like, oh, I wonder if I should try that.
Yeah.
You know? So I'm a big believer. And also to nutrition, oh man, it's done on your own. So it's like maybe you have an accountability partner, like a significant other or something, but often it's like a grind by yourself. Versus also too, it's like, I feel like nutrition is almost like religion, like converting someone from one religion to another or one style of eating to another is a lot more difficult than, hey, let's get outdoors and go for a walk for 30 minutes for the next 6 months, 5 days a week, and I want you to be my accountability partner. Very different.
Yeah.
And I think that often leads to healthier food choices and interest in healthier food choices.
I like that. I think you definitely make a good point, and I think that's why sometimes when I don't want to say when people try to take shortcuts to lose weight, it doesn't long-term maybe work because that diet habit is the same that it was. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, dang.
You want to hear, I read something the other day that is wild. They were trying to organize something like a 15 or 20-year Biggest Loser reunion. They can't do it because there's not one contestant that has kept their weight off. That's sad. That's really hard to hear, right? But to your point, I'm okay with I gotta be careful with this. I'm okay with a radical shift to get something going, but you can't live in a radical diet.
Yeah.
Like one that doesn't allow you to be social, that doesn't allow you to sit down with your family and have dinner because you're eating something different. So it has to be a little bit of a sustainable effort. And, but it's also not, it's not easy.
Yeah.
Very confusing. There's a lot of information. That's why we always do have access to people that we can send people to. Even the owners of the Charlotte portfolio, Finley and Landon Funston. So Finley has a complete nutrition business outside of Charlotte, or outside of the Charlotte MADabolic stores.
Gotcha.
So whether it's walking into a gym in a third space that kind of prompts a certain way of living, or having an accountability partner to help you there, that's also important.
I think one other thing as we wrap up this topic that I think is maybe underappreciated is the mental satisfaction and toughness that you will gain when you deny your body certain foods, or you know what I'm saying? Like, okay, so my background religion-wise is Greek Orthodox.
Okay.
And before Easter, which we just had Easter, there's a 40-day, you don't have to, but, people do no meat, no dairy.
Damn.
And like, I didn't do it this year, but like I have in the past, all 40 days. And there's something about denying yourself certain, you know what I mean? Or just eating clean for a week or two, or knowing you can go get takeout, but you don't, man, it really gives you some strength. You know what? I just did that. Everybody had a dessert here, but I didn't.
Yeah.
Like, that gives you, man, I think there's a really a boost of like self-image and confidence that you can say, yeah, I can say no when I want to say no.
Yeah, and much of that stuff that is rooted in religion is enduring, that sacrifice, right? Which is in its own way, I'm not a super religious person, but I can respect like the tradition.
Yeah.
Like I love traditions.
Yes.
So yeah.
But it's just interesting. I think it was more, my point of saying that was more about the mentality that you gain, the satisfaction you gain. Like, yeah, I can say no to a milkshake if I want to.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So, okay. Any last thoughts, Brandon, about anybody that wants to have a better year this year than they had last year, whether it's with fitness, health and wellness, business, mindset, success, mental health, anything that you want to just leave to somebody about accomplishing big things or anything like that?
No, I would just say in the current climate, right? Like, pretty unpredictable right now, but we're all in it. Like, we're all in it, right? So it's gonna hurt us all or help us all. But just stay patient right now. I did have the benefit of growing up in Canada and now being a U.S. citizen. So I know there's always it's always funny. You could argue both. I love both countries. I'm always like, Canada built me, America leveraged me, and I love them both for it. Yeah. But what I try to say to my American friends or my Canadian friends is like, you can be complaining all the time, or you can just figure out the loophole you have to play at this period of time and go hard.
That's it.
Right? Because we can bitch all day long.
Yeah.
Right? So that's all I'd say. I'd say it's a weird time on planet Earth right now, but guess what? Just keep going.
I 1,000,000% agree with that control the controllables.
Yeah.
There's certain things that it's out of my hands. So I try not to just dwell on it, because what am I going to do, man? What am I going to do? I'm a little guy here in, Salisbury, North Carolina. Like, what am I going to do? I'm not a billionaire. I'm not a politician. I'm just me, and I try to control my world and my little bubble.
Yep.
And let me just, like you said, let me not complain and go out there and accomplish and do big things as best as I can.
And if you can do those little things in your circle of influence, hopefully those ripples reach more people. And if I'm doing my little things and those ripples reach, we can't fix up here.
Yeah.
We just got to
do our part.
That's it.
Guys, Brandon, this is awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Guys, if you guys have not checked out a MADabolic, okay, so we have the locations in North Carolina. We have South End, Charlotte,
So three
Noda.
3 in Charlotte, South End, Elizabeth, Noda.
Okay.
We are also we got 2 in the Raleigh.
Okay.
And we're opening one, we just signed a contract for Durham.
Okay.
So that kind of takes over our North Carolina ones.
Perfect. If you guys haven't checked them out, follow their socials all over the place. If you're in the area, come by, check it out. I don't know if you guys have.
Asheville. We also have, I love our Asheville team's rock.
There we go.
So I have to shout out
You're
Asheville.
good. We have we have the western part of the state. We have 3, over here in the Charlotte area. So stop by, ask, DM them, follow their socials, support them. Fantastic company. Obviously, I know Brandon. And getting to know him better and better. So good to see you guys. This was did I even mention it? I think it was season 4, episode 4. And on to big things. Have an awesome rest of your day. See you guys.